Well, welcome. I want to welcome everybody to the City of Coolidge City Council regular meeting of October 24th, 2016. It's called to order. There is no invocation tonight. Item 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand with me for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Norm, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember Gilbert Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Hudson.
Here.
Councilmember Robert Huddleston.
Here.
Mayor John Thompson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry.
Here.
Councilmember Gary Lewis.
Present.
And Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta. Thank you.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum.
Under presentations, item 4, employee of the quarter, Vernon Bridges. But the council had asked you to come down to put it down here. Vernon, if you don't mind, come on up, please. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you on being selected as the City of Coolidge Employee of the Quarter for April, May, and June 2016. We appreciate your hard work and the constant dedication to do whatever is asked of you as a Public Works employee. In December 2015, the contract concluded with Juan Frederico, the previous facility maintenance foreman, and due to some internal discussion, the immediate advertisement for the foreman position was delayed. In June, you were asked to serve as the interim foreman, and in July, you were successful in the promotion to the permanent foreman position. During this 6-month time frame, you willingly took oversight of the 2 custodians, developing with them a plan for a heavy-duty maintenance program for the flooring and deep cleaning for the city facilities. All facilities have received carpet and tile cleaning in this time frame, and the deep cleaning happening on the scheduled basis. Additionally, as a one-man maintenance worker, you have maintained the facilities in great shape and responding as soon as possible to all task orders. During one of the hottest summers on record, all HVAC units, all AC units were kept in working condition except as the police department, where a unit completely failed and required replacement. This unit was replaced as quickly as possible. During the outage of the unit, you also worked with the PD to maintain as cool of a climate as possible. Reports from all departments have been positive, with several comments on how quickly the task order are accomplished, and always with a smile. This personal, enthusiastic service to the departments is applauded. The facilities are being maintained in an exemplary fashion, and we are grateful for your service. Vern, on behalf of myself, the council, staff, and citizens, please accept my personal gratitude for your devoted services and your leadership in all the extra service you have undertaken. Thank you for a job well done. All of this is for you. There's the plaque and the check and the certificate. I don't know the paper. I don't see the paper, but somebody might want to get one with a certificate. And the letter goes with you too. So thank you. You've done a good job. I appreciate it. Thank you.
sir. Congratulations, Vern. Great job.
Item 5. You guys making trouble on the way out? Yeah, he told me his boss wants him there early. Item 5, proclamation, Health Occupation Students of America. Proclamation, HOSA Week, Health Occupation Students of America, November 6th to 12th, 2016. Whereas HOSA Future Health Professionals is a career and technical student organization for high school and post-secondary students who plan to pursue a health career, and whereas HOSA serves as a pipeline of future health professionals, and whereas HOSA provides a strong foundation for preparing tomorrow's healthcare professionals through a skill development, leadership opportunities, and community service, and whereas health science education and HOSA support and encourage students whose interests lie in pursuing a health career, thereby helping to alleviate a national shortage of health workers, and whereas HOSA promotes the development of responsible citizenship, personal integrity, and compassion for humanity. Now, therefore, I, John Thompson, Mayor of the City of Coolidge, Arizona, do hereby proclaim November 6th through November 12th, 2016, as National Health Occupation Students of America, HOSA Week, in the City of Coolidge, and call upon the citizens of Coolidge to support the commitment of Central Arizona Valley Institute Technology, CAVIT, in its efforts to provide and encourage students to our community to pursue health careers. And is there anybody here from, there they are. Would you like to say a few words? We like CAVIT up here. We're glad you're here.
Good evening, Mayor Thompson and city members. My name is Eric Glass. I am a second-year student at CAVIT, and I am in the medical assisting program. I am also a full-time student at Coolidge High School. CAVIT has 8 career and technical education programs, and we serve students from all over Pinal County. All of our programs offer either free dual enrollment college credits or licensure opportunities, or both. Students attend CAVIT for 2 years and are bused back and forth from their home schools. We are very proud that we are involved in many, many real life activities, such as running clinics, partnering with business and industry for job showings and internship experiences.
Hi, my name is Laura Solomon, and I'm a second-year student in the massage therapy program at CAVIT. I am also a full-time student at Imagine Prep. Tonight we are here to discuss HOSA, which is our first professional organization, and it is specifically for allied health students. I'm a chapter officer for HOSA, so I've had training this past summer, have had to create a program of work, also known as a strategic plan, and I have to assist in running monthly meetings, just like you all are doing now. Besides learning these leadership skills, our members can compete in allied health events at our Spring Leadership Conference in Tucson and potentially at our national conference held this year in Orlando, Florida. It is National HOSA Week, November 6th through 12th, 2016, and we are asking all of our participating cities to make a proclamation for it, which I believe you have. Thank you so much for allowing us to address you this evening.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. I would point out that Mr. Glass is on our Coolidge Youth Council, too. All right. Thank you very much. Did you want to say anything? You sure? Well, you got out easy tonight, didn't you? Well, we're glad you're here. I wish the governor felt the same way about it, but I'll leave that for another time. So, item 6, monthly report and business spotlight, recognitions by the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce. Lynn, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It gives me great pleasure to do our October spotlight. J. Warren Funeral Services, Mod. They've been doing business in Coolidge since 1996. And I have here with me Jerry and Janet Warren and their team.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Councilman. It's a great opportunity for us to be able to be highlighted by the Chamber and by the city as well. We've been in business all together now, myself and my wife, for this in January we'll turn our 47th year in the industry, and we're real proud of that. We're working on third generation and possibly a fourth generation. One of my grandsons, I hope one of the twins will step up and do what he should do. But no, it's been a good run for us, and it's been very influential for us here in Coolidge. We have opened up a flower shop here in Coolidge as well in the building, getting ready to do probably some maintenance and repair to make our building look a little bit more nicer than what it does today. And because we're proud to be here, we're proud to be part of Coolidge, and thank you for giving us that opportunity to be here. Just a couple of, like I said, my wife Janet, like I said, we've been in the business together for that many years. And Mr. Valentin Rodriguez, which was a big part of our business here in Coolidge. Also tonight I have also Mrs. Kristen Gramando. She's also part of our team here in Coolidge. And there's about four or five that actually operate out of Coolidge. We actually have in our whole organization about 25 employees that are actually involved with us. My goal of my whole career was basically to try to be self-sufficient where I didn't have to use any third parties. And right now in Pinal County we have basically one of the few crematories, cemetery, mortuary combinations that are still family owned and family operated. And that means a lot to us because that's what I think the funeral industry is all about. And again, thank you for this honor. Appreciate your time.
Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, we had a great luau for our annual banquet, and the weather really was great. So thank you for coming. Now, our reinvestments for August are Paychecks, Snap Fitness, Curves, Hospice, Compass, Supply 29, Complete Parachute Solutions, Hope Women's Center, Coolidge Church of the Nazarene, Hospice of the Valley. Our new members for August were C&V Air Conditioning and Appliance, Laird Realty Investments, and Agronomy Innovations. Our webpage hits are up 24%. Our walk-ins were 461. Phone calls were 327. Top states that visit us was Michigan and Minnesota. At the ruins, they had in August 2,780 people, and year-to-date makes them at 56,117. I want to let you know this weekend we're having the Garden Festival at the Artisan Village. It's going to be a great program. It has music, live music, food, art for sale. It'll be a great event. November 12th, we're going to have the Veterans Parade, and it's our first in a long time in Coolidge. I am going to let you know we are canceling the CEDC meeting for tomorrow. Email did get out, but we won't be able to facilitate that. And do you have any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions or comments down here? Go ahead.
For the Veterans Day Parade, the community members and veterans can enter floats into that parade? And I know I was asked that question before, but I wasn't sure of the answer.
Yes, it's a veterans I mean, we wanted to keep the theme as honoring our veterans, but yes, anybody could put in for the parade.
And they contact you or someone down at the chamber?
I'm sorry, sir.
And they contact yourself or somebody at the chamber?
Yeah, we have applications online at the Artisan Village, and we have them at the Chamber of Commerce.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Lynn, does it cost anything to enter a float?
No, it does not.
Okay.
And you have a possibility of oh, no, it's a certificate. I'm sorry.
Depends. Are you putting in a
Thought I was going to waste some cash.
Not if we're not winning anything. But no, well, we'll be, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure a number of the council will be at the parade.
There's a program following that at the Artisan Village where there'll be food and bouncy castles, and we'll do a program there to honor our veterans. So, and then I think CPS is going to be dropping in. Oh, are we here? CPS here?
Yeah, I believe that is the plan. I believe that Oscar Rodriguez has been in touch with CPS. I think they're trying to coordinate that, as well as possibly a flyover from the Commemorative Air Force out of Falcon Field. We'll see if that happens.
That would be cool to start our parade off.
Yeah, because I know somebody asked me the same question that Councilmember Lewis brought up the other night at the Hall of Fame dinner, is who do you contact to get a float in the parade? Or
Yeah, we can help you.
okay,
Absolutely. The chamber wants to be the go-to place.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7, presentation by Executive Director Ken Hall with Central Arizona Government's CAG. Ken, welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'd like to thank you for inviting me out tonight, and I enjoy the opportunity to come out and speak with you. My name is Ken Hall, and I'm the Executive Director of the Central Arizona Governments. I just wanted to take a brief amount of time. I know you have a busy agenda, maybe 5 to 7 minutes or so, just give you an overview of the Central Arizona Governments, or CAG. About a week and a half ago, we sent materials to you, which should be in the packet. And then this evening, prior to the meeting, you should have an additional handout. There was supposed to be a PowerPoint presentation. I think we got mixed up in translation with Norma, but that's fine. I can just go through the slides with you and speak to it.
Can I just wanted to brief you that Sun Quarter MPO was just here, so
Yes.
CAG basically does a lot of the same things they do, but they do it in a different region. I mean,
Right. I'll speak.
okay, I just wanted, because,
I understand. It's transportation.
okay.
Sure. Well, basically, in the handout, there's also a map. I wanted to say that CAG, or Central Arizona Governments, we are a council of governments. And in 1970, then Governor Jack Williams signed what's known as Executive Order 70-2, where he basically split the entire state of Arizona into 6 distinctive regional councils of governments. And I provided a map for you. And basically on here, you can see the 6 councils of governments and where the offices are located at, indicated by the star. Now, the 2 urban councils of governments in the state, of course, are the Maricopa Association of Governments in Phoenix and the Pima Association of Governments, PAG and MAG is what they're known as. Those are the big urban centers. That's in Tucson. PAG is in Tucson. And then we have what is known as the 4 rural councils of governments. The Northern Arizona Council of Governments in Northern Arizona is comprised of Coconino, Yavapai, Navajo, and Apache counties. And then to the west, we have what's called the Western, or what's known as the Western Arizona Council of Governments. And that's comprised of Yuma, La Paz, and Mojave counties. And then to the southeastern part of the state, we have what's known as the Southeastern Arizona Governments Organization, which is also referred to their acronym as SEGO. And that's comprised of Greenlee, Graham, Cochise, and Santa Cruz counties. And then there's us, CAG, the Central Arizona Governments, which is comprised of Gila and Pinal counties, of which Coolidge is a member. As far as our actual member agencies go, we're comprised of a total of 23 member governments. The 11 municipalities in Pinal County, which are basically Apache Junction, Casa Grande, Coolidge, Eloy, Florence, Kearney, Mammoth, Marana, although they don't have population in the county, but they do have boundaries that go into the county. In the future, they would probably have a substantial population base. And then also Maricopa, Queen Creek, and Superior. And then we also have 6 municipalities in Gila County, and we're also comprised of the county governments of Gila County and Pinal County. And then we're also comprised of 4 Native American communities, which is the Ak-Chin, Gila River, San Carlos, and White Mountain Apache tribes. And from a regional government's perspective, in terms of how we're set up, we have 3 technical advisory committees. One is known as the Transportation Technical Advisory Committee. One is known as the Environmental Planning Committee, and the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Committee. The recommendations from these committees are forwarded to our management committee, which is comprised of our city and town managers, town clerks, tribal managers are their authorized representatives or appointees. All recommendations that come from our CAG Management Committee, along with any regional governance issues and anything internal to the agency, those are forwarded to our CAG Regional Council, which is our governing body. It's comprised of the mayors, county supervisors, tribal governors are their political appointees. The CAG Regional Council basically sets our policies, makes our decisions, and is responsible for governing the Central Arizona governments. Our technical advisory committees meet monthly, bi-monthly, and quarterly, and our management committee and regional council meet a total of 6 times a year. In terms of the city of Coolidge and the representatives who serve upon our committees, Mayor John Thompson serves upon the CAG Regional Council. He's currently the vice chairperson of the CAG Regional Council. He does a great job and everybody loves him. Yeah. And
Thanks,
I
kid.
just wanted to say that. And then also Mr. Rick Miller, the city manager. Rick wears a couple of hats with CAG. He serves upon the management committee, and he also serves upon the CAG Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Committee. Ms. Susanna Struble, who's in the audience, the Public Works Director, she serves on the CAG Environmental Planning Committee. And I did want to note that the city doesn't have representation to the Transportation Technical Advisory Committee, only because Coolidge goes to the Sun Quarter MPO for transportation planning services, which is kind of what the mayor was alluding to. In terms of our departments, CAG's departments, through ADOT we're responsible for carrying out a number of different transportation planning activities for our planning region. We administer community development block grants for the region, which has been about $2.2 million per year. That money is a non-entitlement fund. It comes to the Arizona Department of Housing, and it comes to our agency, and we have a regional method of distribution, and that money is distributed accordingly throughout the region by community. And also through the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, we carry out regional environmental planning and 208 water quality planning activities. We also carry out a number of economic development planning functions, and we have a pretty sophisticated information services department, and it's responsible for providing an array of different socioeconomic data, GIS, or what's known as Geographic Information Systems, mapping services for our communities. And it's pretty extensive. We have over 40 different layers of data, and we assist everybody, and we're constantly working to upgrade that. We do aerial flyover maps every couple of years, and we update that information pretty regularly. We also created a community development planning department for communities in need of planning services that can't afford to go out for a high-end consultant to do a general plan or something of that nature. And also we're under contract to Pinal County because we also implement through Pinal County the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which is the WIOA, which has been rebranded as Arizona at Work. And I'm sure you've seen Arizona at Work out and about. So we do that for Pinal County. We administer the adult and dislocated worker programs, and CAC is responsible for doing the youth program under Arizona at Work. In addition to the departments and the primary functions, CAG is also a federal economic development district under the auspices of the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration. What does that mean? It means that we're eligible to go after economic development grants and assistance for public works and planning projects. Actually, it was a grant from our economic development district that was able to double the size of Coolidge's municipal wastewater treatment facility. Back in the 90s, Coolidge was in a situation where the lines were surging and you couldn't accommodate growth. When the EDA grant came in, it was almost $2 million. We doubled the size of the plant, and shortly thereafter, Arizona Boulevard started picking up. Subdivisions came in. It really was a situation where a grant transformed the community. And also by statute, we're also the office of the Pinal Regional Transportation Authority. The RTA was placed together for the purpose of creating over $600 million in roadway and transit programs in Pinal County over the next 20 years. In your packets, you have two documents that we sent to you. One is called a Central Arizona Government's Regional Overview. And this is basically a CAG 101 when you have some time to flip through it. It tells you a little bit about the history of CAG, an agency overview. It provides a regional overview of our area. And in the middle, you'll have kind of like a fold-out of who our members are with numbers and population data and contact information. And then also it tells you a little bit about the departments and what the functions of our departments are, although I skimmed through them a little bit. And then also it tells a little bit about how our regional governance is set up. So it's a nice document, and we're providing it to every city and town council. And also the other document I wanted to bring your attention to is entitled The Scope of Services. That has a bridge on the top, or on the front page rather, and on the inside you'll see the runes. Basically, one of the things that we're doing is when we go out to each one of our cities and towns, or when I go out and give presentations, I also want to inform our communities that we're here to assist our communities. I realize that CAG is a governmental alliance, but we're also here as a resource. And these just go over a number of items that we would be able to assist the town, or the towns and cities of Gila and Pinal counties with, including the city. Some of these functions include grant writing assistance, developing surveys, an array of different community development activities, transportation planning, economic development type services, the GIS mapping component, and information assistance, meeting facilitation, and on the bottom of the second page on the inside there's also a list of other services that we also provide. So basically, to kind of wrap this up in summary, I just wanted to come out and speak with you guys tonight, to the council, and to tell you that we're here to assist you in anything that you need from us. Please contact us if you need any assistance. I've included our contact information as well as a business card. Feel free to call me at any time. If there's anything you need from our agency, we would be more than glad to help out.
Well, thank you, Ken. Did anybody have any questions or comments? Gary?
No, sir.
I would say that we appreciate it. We're still in CAG because we believe it's an important organization, and the CDBG grant money comes in. We use it here for housing almost every time we vote, housing gets it. But it's a good organization, and it keeps us in contact with what's going on to our neighbors in Gila County too.
Are there any questions?
I don't believe so. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me out.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Item number 8, monthly report by the Coolidge Youth Coalition. Good evening.
Hello, Mayor and Council members. CYC would like to thank each and every member, friend, partner, sponsor, attendee, and of course our CYC Coolidge Pride students for helping make our Night in the Garden event a success. As a nonprofit, we depend on fundraisers and donations to support our youth programming. The event was well attended, and we really hoped everyone enjoyed the unique outdoor setting. We could not have done it without the amazing support from our Coolidge community. Together, we all build a safe, healthy, and drug-free environment for our youth. Lastly, we would like to thank Phil Bond for providing CYC and our Pinal County youth a sustainable garden where they can grow, learn, and discover. Phil and CYC want our youth and community to know this is a place that they are always welcome, a place to unwind, find happiness, and connect with nature. CYC will be offering workshops as hiking, gardening, astronomy, birding, and more at our garden to help educate youth on the importance of living a healthy and happy lifestyle. Now I'm going to let our CYC Director, Sharon Boyd, take the stand.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Sharon Boyd, and I'm the Director of the Coolidge Youth Coalition Drug-Free Communities Program. I would like to introduce tonight some distinguished members of Simpatico Integrated Healthcare that are in our audience tonight. Specifically, Mr. Michael Johnson, Community Coordinator and Community Liaison for Simpatico Integrated Care. I also would like to give a shout out to my childhood friend, and I went to Coolidge High School with Miss Olga Delsey. She is in the audience tonight. If there was ever a silent angel on the end of an email, it is Miss Olga. Because when I can't figure something out, when someone comes to me with something that is probably not my expertise, which is a lot, I will get on the end of the email or text, and this problem gets taken care of. So I cannot tell you how much I appreciate Simpatico. Their local representatives here are a wealth of information, a wealth of resources. This is how I know about these community reinvestment funds that are so vitally important for these communities, our community in particular, in Arizona. Simpatico has funded not only CYC, but they have funded many projects in Coolidge, as you know, and Pinal County. I believe Pinal County was the most funded county this last year in community reinvestments, and we cannot thank this organization enough. They not only have their community people out, but they want you to succeed. They want our kids to succeed, and they make funding opportunities available to nonprofits like CYC that we could not be able to offer some of this youth programming without these critical funds. Michael is going to present a check to Coolidge Youth Coalition for $6,500 for safe sidewalks reinvestment, for 450 feet of sidewalk curbing and ADA ramps on Northern Avenue in front of the Coolidge City Pool to fill in the sidewalk gap there. This will give a contiguous sidewalk to our approximately 4,500 youth and families that walk this route to the city pool and to kids camp every summer. This is critical for our kids, and it makes it a safer and a contiguous sidewalk. This project will be accomplished in collaboration with our City of Coolidge Public Works Department. And I have to tell you, this was not my idea to write for this grant. We were in a meeting with, I do have a board, I do have a boss. I know you always see me, but my boss is here tonight. It's Rick LaPaya, Director of Parks and Rec. This was Ricky's idea as he directs Kids Camp and the Coolidge Pools. So we were happy to write this. We are happy that CYC was funded, and we are happy to collaborate with the City of Coolidge on this project. We would like to thank Simpatico for their continued support of CYC and for funding the many other projects that I have been talking about here in our city. Without these reinvestment funds that Simpatico provides, it would be impossible for CYC to offer all of our youth programming and collaborate on projects that keep our kids safe. So without further ado, I'd like Mr. Johnson to come forward. I believe he has some checks. And all the members of Simpatico that are with him.
There's three of them. You want to?
Yes, and all the members of Simpatico that are with him. And I think they should present this to Rick LaPaya since he's the president of CYC. Oh, yay.
Nobody, I guess.
Also with us tonight, we have our Regional Vice President of Community Affairs, who's also my boss, Greg Taylor's with us as well. On behalf of Simpatico, thank you all for the great work that you're doing here in the City of Coolidge. This year, I was fortunate enough to administer this competitive grant process, and we awarded $569,000 across 8 southern Arizona counties, much of which was awarded to some of our rural communities. I'm not sure the total dollar amount for the city of Coolidge, but I know Pinal County alone was awarded about $144,000. Pinal County really did come out in force in applying for this grant this year. I know Olga was really instrumental in that, but the work that folks like Sharon and Mandy are doing, that Ricky are doing, is also vital to the success of some of these smaller communities. So thank you for everything you guys are doing. Also, we have, in addition to our check for the Coolidge Youth Coalition, we have a check for $6,000 for a shade structure for Ricky, and we also have a check for $6,600 for the adult exercise room as well for the city of Coolidge. So thank you all for applying for those as well.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. You're going to hand out your Happy Gilmore checks.
Mayor, do you want to come down and take a picture?
Well, why not? It's been one of those kind of nights.
Can we turn that light on?
Oh, you're in the background. Smile, Rob.
I think they can, they're both the chief.
It's just going to have to be there.
I think Rick Miller needs to be in the picture.
Yeah, it's, they do grant funding for all kinds of things.
There you go.
I don't know where.
All that work for nothing.
They funded the gardens, computers.
One more for Ricky. Ricky, you're a heck of a grant writer.
It's with the C though, isn't it? Yes.
Thank you all.
Yeah, it is.
So, there's a gym. I've been in that building hundreds of times, never seen it.
That the shade structure checks had batting cages on it, so that ought to make our Little League happy, because I think we're going to put some batting cages out at our park, Kenilworth, in the near future. So, and we couldn't have afforded it without some paticos. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Okay, the next item on the agenda is call to the public. That's the item on the agenda that you have 3 to 5 minutes to address the council. We will not address you back, but you can come up. Please state your name and your address. Tell us what you're thinking, and we'll have somebody from the city staff get with you to make arrangements so we can deal with whatever the issue is. So if there's anybody here that wants to address the public or the council, please come forward. Oh, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Judy Rotz Lopez. I live at 615 West Verde Lane here in Coolidge. I want to address you about this, the road projects that you have coming up with the $2+ million. It's not a loan, it's an obligation. I found out this is at like 1.95% interest. That's like no interest at all. I think it'd be fantastic for the city of Coolidge to enter into this. We need it so badly. Without the good infrastructure in our downtown areas and in the surrounding streets, people are not going to come to Coolidge. They look at the roadways. They don't want to put businesses in unless the streets look good. And people many times don't want to move here unless the downtown area especially looks nice. So I really encourage you to vote for this because I think it's so important for the city of Coolidge. Without the infrastructure, we're just not going to grow. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well, thank you. Anybody else?
I should become part of a regular agenda item. Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, Mr. Fitzgibbons, and Mr. Miller, thank you for this opportunity to speak during the City of Coolidge Council meeting. My name is Jim Smith. I live at 440 West Taylor, Coolidge, Arizona. And my wife, Stacy Humphreys, owns 2 businesses in town, Jugs and Strokers Motorcycle Repair and Tattoo on Arizona Boulevard, and Mama Jugs Watering Hole on Main Street. On diverse occasions, at this meeting and individually, I have respectfully requested that the City of Coolidge assist me in combating the obtuse, egregious, and constitutionally prohibitive actions conducted by members of Gang and Immigration Intelligence Team Enforcement Mission, commonly referred to as Gang Task Force or GTF. From my perspective and from my firsthand experience, those requests have fallen on deaf or ineffective ears. There has been no perceptible change in the harassment, selective enforcement of the law, and profiling that is rampant within this city limits. This failure to regulate and control what transpires in the geopolitical subdivision that you govern constitutes what many believe is your tacit approval and implicit involvement, participation, and inherent engrossment in depriving law-abiding, honest, and hardworking citizens of their constitutional and civil rights. Anytime either of my wife's businesses holds an event, Gang Task Force comes into our town and profiles motorcyclists. It's as simple as that. This past weekend, we had an event, but so did the Galloping Goose. They had a Back in Blue event. We had a Hooligans event. Gang Task Force targeted our businesses and failed to target what was going on down the street. Washington State and Maryland, the 2 states that currently have anti-profiling laws, defines motorcycle profiling as the arbitrary use of the fact that an individual rides a motorcycle or wears motorcycle-related clothing and paraphernalia as a factor in deciding to stop, question, take enforcement action, arrest, or search the individual or vehicle. These actions by law enforcement officers is serious stuff. Profiling violates the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. Being in a motorcycle club or organization and displaying symbols of association are both undeniably protected by the First Amendment. In the case of Cohen versus California, the United States Supreme Court ruled that individuals have the constitutional right under the First Amendment to wear clothing which displays writing or designs and has long recognized and protected the right of an individual to freedom of association. Further, profiling violates the 14th Amendment. In Warren versus the United States, the court made a clear distinction between discriminatory stops and investigatory stops. The court said the Constitution prohibits selective enforcement of the law. Discriminatory or selective enforcement are a violation of due process and equal protection clauses under the 14th Amendment. Profiling violates the 4th Amendment when the duration of the stop extends beyond a reasonable amount of time to adjudicate the traffic infraction, then the stop is found, it may be found to be unreasonable under the 4th Amendment. By not initiating a dialogue with Gang Task Force, by not demanding that Gang Task Force curtail their abusive actions, by allowing Gang Task Force to conduct themselves in a manner inconsistent with the law, you are complicit in these violations of people's rights. On a personal note, I find that liar is a very, very negative word. It conjures up harmful, damaging, and deleterious connotations. Unfortunately, I have to use that word tonight, not to cause harm, not to damage, but because it's appropriate and fitting. Either someone in this room or someone that wields immense power within the city, a gang task force officer, is a liar. Flat out. Somebody lied. I've been told time and again by individuals in this room that the city of Coolidge has not asked for the assistance of gang task force for any events that are held at either of my wife's establishments. A gang task force officer who refused to identify himself this weekend specifically said that the city of Coolidge requested their presence this past weekend to surveil our event. Somebody's lying. Now, it may sound insignificant. It may sound de minimis. But before dismissing these verbal sleights of hand, consider the ramifications. How can an ordinary citizen expect that an elected official or a peace officer in the state of Arizona is going to tell the truth in a court of law or tell the truth in the fulfillment of his obligations if they can't even tell the truth on something as insignificant as this? Now, I've also had to apologize to I think the Chamber of Commerce, because this past weekend, a law enforcement officer came to my establishment and told me that he took my posters down. And I said, "What posters?" And he said, "I got your car event posters. They're in the back of my police vehicle." And I said, "Why would you do that?" And he said, "Because it's illegal to post these posters on telephone poles." And I said, "Did you get all the yard sale and the estate sales and every other sign?" And he said, "Well, we're getting these first." I said, "Well, maybe I should call Lynn Parsons because it's her event, it's not mine." So I apologize that the car show didn't go as planned. There weren't as many people this year as there were last year. And I don't know if it had to do with removing signs off of telephone poles. But I think if the information was out there that it wasn't Jimmy and Stacy's event, I think those signs would have remained up during the period of the car show. So it's a pretty sad indictment that we can't even have a party without gang task force. Somebody else can't have a party without getting their signs pulled down. Now, I'm going to spend a lot of money here on November 19th, and I've got 7 blues bands. And quite honestly, they're probably the largest display of talent that's ever been had in the city of Coolidge at one time. Somebody's got to tell me why. Why should I spend my money once again when I'm going to get harassed by gang task force? You know, last time it was jaywalking on Main Street. Today, or this weekend, it was my encroachment of my front tire. My front tire broke the plane of the sidewalk, and I was threatened with a ticket. So do me a favor, Mr. Mayor and Council, call up gang task force, because they don't have the intestinal fortitude when I send them a message to sit down with them. I want the ticket. I want the ticket. Mr. Huddleston, in writing, you said that my businesses were going to cause financial damage to the city of Coolidge. You betcha they are. You bet you, because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being harassed. I'm tired of trying to do something decent in this city. And no offense, Mayor and Council, but this city doesn't have a whole lot to brag about. And I'm tired of the harassment. Why don't you come on down to the bar or come on down to the bike shop and let's have a conversation, man to man. Let's settle this. Because this pettiness that goes on around here is disgusting, and it's unprofessional, and it's unbecoming the city of Coolidge. Whether it's the city or whether it's the people in your city, the gang task force that's dragging your city down, it's going to cost you money. So you were relatively prophetic, Mr. Huddleston. It's a shame. And by the way, there are other ways to pay for these streets than $200,000 for the next 15 years. Somebody needs to sit down and, like I said last time, I'll take the time, I'll walk it through a number of different alternative methodologies for payment that doesn't burden the city for 15 years. But I agree with the woman before. It does need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Is there anybody else? Okay, not seeing anybody approach. We will move out of the call to the public to the business items for consent. I would ask if the council has any items that they want to pull off the consent agenda to let me know now.
12. Yeah, I got a few.
12?
9, 10, and 16.
Okay, I'm going to start with 11. Consider approval of entering into a CenturyLink 911 agreement between CenturyLink Sales Solution, Inc. and the City of Coolidge Police Department for the purpose of releasing customer proprietary network information, authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary agreement. Item 13, consider approval of accepting a Governor's Office of Highway Safety 2017 DUI Enforcement Grant, contract number 2017 AL-016, in the amount of $14,248 awarded to the Coolidge Police Department for DUI enforcement, detail overtime, and ERE expenses, phlebotomy, and miscellaneous expenses to enhance the DUI impaired driving enforcement, and authorizing the city manager and police chief to execute the GOHS contract. Item 14, consider approval of entering into grant and aid agreement between the Tohono O'odham Nation and the City of Coolidge, and approving the acceptance and use of the funding in the amount of $72,009 towards the cost of purchasing a new police Chevy Tahoe traffic unit and related police equipment for the Coolidge Police Department. Item 15, consider approval of entering into a contract with Cummings Rocky Mountain LLC and the City of Coolidge for the annual preventative maintenance of the City of Coolidge wastewater generators in an amount not to exceed $6,886.60, authorizing the mayor to execute the necessary documents. Item 17, resolution number 16-25, a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the City of Coolidge, Arizona, adopting the Coolidge 2025 General Plan Major Amendment Schedule for 2017. Item 18, consider approval of the claims for the month of September 2016. And there is a resolution, so it will be a vote, but I need a motion and a second.
Mayor, with no further discussion, I make a motion that we approve consent agenda items 11, 13, 14, 15, 17, and 18 as read.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Norma?
Was 12 in there?
No, 12 was pulled.
12 was pulled, so 9, 10, 12, and 16 pulled?
That's correct.
Okay.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move back to item 9. Consider approval of entering into a professional services agreement between the City of Coolidge and Beal Insurance, Inc. for the purpose of providing Affordable Care Act, ACA, approved 1095 PDF employee reporting forms and subsequent Affordable Care Act, ACA, IRS 1094 electronic filing transmission to the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, on behalf of the City of Coolidge. James, that's you.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is brought upon, as we know about the Affordable Health Care Act, or Affordable Care, aka Obamacare. And basically what these two tax documents are for is basically in 2014 there was a mandate to where people have to declare whether they have health insurance or not. If you remember, I think it was in 2013, 2014, it just asked you, do you have health insurance? And you either said yes or no. Well, this is a way that is actually a little bit, they can prove whether you have health insurance or not. So this is a mandate that's given by the government with some pretty stiff fines for mistakes. So I can entertain any questions that you may have.
Any down here?
No.
Gary?
Yeah, so just a couple quick questions. Because I was reading through the thing, I didn't get the information that I wanted. But so is this something that has to be done by bill insurance, or we can do it on our own, and what's the cost?
The cost, originally the city actually contracted with ADP to do this originally, and the cost was $10,000. Well, Eric came to the city and said that, and actually that didn't work out the way that we planned also in 2015. And Eric Johnson, or GLJ, did the 1094 and 1095s last year. I think the cost that we agreed upon was $2,000, and that was a decision that was made really before I got here, because there are stiff penalties for any mistakes that are made by the IRS. There were a lot of problems last year just getting the forms filed. So the city made a decision to have a contractor to put those forms together.
So the problems submitting the files last year were the city's problems, or were they problems with who we contracted with prior?
No, it was a problem with the government, basically. Okay. Because they extended the date. Originally, I think the date was January. They pushed it back to March the 31st. People still have problems. And with those problems, the government decided they would forgive it last year, but this year, any mistakes will be enforced, including being late.
Okay.
And that's to the tune of $250 per mistake.
So with us contracting with bill insurance to do this, if there's an issue, then liability falls on them, not with the city?
Yes, because they are the ones that will fill those forms out and get those not only to the employees, but any employee that worked with us during the year of 2016.
Okay, so there's absolutely zero for the city to do? We don't have to provide forms or do any work on our end? They'll take care of all of it?
Right now, to my knowledge, it's completely contracted out through GLJ, and they have a contractor that will take care of that completely.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody got anything else?
No, I just think it's pretty cheap, $2,000 to fulfill the IRS, because you don't want to mess with those people.
Right, that's an enemy you don't want.
Yep.
And as I mentioned, it's going to be $250 per mistake. We have anywhere from 100. Well, actually, we'll have to count the summer help too. That's going to be close to 200 people, and that includes all the people that quit during the year, all of those. And like I said, that's an enemy you don't want.
That's per mistake had the city taken the responsibility.
Right.
Right. Okay. We don't pay that $250 if Bill makes the mistake.
No, I was hoping that's one of the reasons we're doing it, because they're specialists. Hopefully they won't make any mistakes, but we will not be liable.
Okay. There. Thank you.
Seems like a pretty good insurance policy for us.
I like it.
Anything else?
No.
Bill?
Just Mayor, quickly, all the cities are doing this. In fact, Glendale, just before I came out this afternoon, got a notice from HR that they're going to send these out, and don't, make sure to fill them out, and had some very specific instructions. And I know it's going to cost way more than $2,000, as much paperwork is involved. So it's everyone. So this is pretty cheap.
Yeah,
but as I mentioned, ADP charged us. We're willing to charge us $10,000 last year, and it wasn't completed. So this is a lot better deal for the city.
Good deal.
Yeah. Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 9 as read.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item 10. Consider approval of entering into a facilities use agreement between Central Arizona College and the City of Coolidge for the use of the City of Coolidge Fire Department Station for an emergency medical technician class for the fall of 2016. Chief?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council,
we are entering into this agreement. We actually started this agreement a long time ago, but there were some hiccups on CAC's side for getting it completed on time, to allow them to use our fire station classroom to teach a EMT class for local students. And in return, they're going to do an EMT refresher for all the City of Coolidge EMTs at no cost at our facility, so we don't have to travel. I was told that roughly about $150 per student is what we should estimate that our cost would have been for that refresher. And as such, that's basically saving us over $1,000. And it's costing us a little bit of electricity because 2 nights a week we have the station open for 1 hour more than we normally do.
A few questions for you, sir. Is this only for Coolidge Fire employees, or just going to be open up to communities or other?
I believe they'll probably open it up to other people, but they'll have to pay. They're not going to fall underneath our...
Yes. Okay, then some of the other questions, because on the... I just want to make sure we have our ducks correct, because there's a lot of misinformation from what I could find. It's an EMS refresher class to be named at a later date, but in the facility use agreement from CAC, it lists a EMS 125 basic EMT class, which is the full class.
Right.
Which says it will end December 18th, but it will start August 23rd, ending December 15th, with the final testing being in Castro Grand Center on the 18th, every Tuesday and Thursday, which is different from what's on our agenda item. So,
well, that's the class that they're currently conducting for outside students.
yeah, but my concern is that this is stating everything you're asking for. This is stating the same thing. It just got some dates in the class wrong. So, I mean, I'm hesitant to vote yes for something that we have information that isn't exactly what the agenda item's stating. I don't know if Dennis has anything to say. Because this is basically a full EMT class every Tuesday and Thursday from August to December. We're already almost at November 1st. So this facilities use agreement that we're going to approve isn't anything, is not the refresher class. It's not just the refresher class, is just a weekend or 2 days with, the final testing. So this document is much different from what we're asking to approve.
The August 23rd through December 15th is the class that they're conducting right now. I believe under item 5 under section 2 there, under the agreement, the class for CFD, which is us, is to be determined during the remainder of the year.
So are they currently using a city facility to conduct a class?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But we didn't vote on this in August?
Because we ran into a problem with CAC, and I had a discussion with Mr. Miller and with Ann, and they agreed that it would be okay for us to continue with what CAC was asking us.
Right. In this agreement, provides classroom space for the fall semester 2016 from 6 to 10 on Tuesday and Thursday from August 23rd through December 15th, 2016.
So this has been going on for a few months already anyways.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And this was how this came about is the CAVIT backed out of letting them use the classroom space since no CAVIT students were being enrolled in the class. So they actually contacted us like a week and a half before class started because they had 7 students from Coolidge that they needed to host this class for. So,
well, I think that working with them is great, especially if we get our firefighters do the refresher training for free. I was just concerned that the agenda item and what I was reading contradicted each other on every aspect. So I just, like I said, if the agenda item should, in my opinion, should say to approve something we've already been doing versus approve just the refresher thing, because it's just what I'm looking at is what we have. You know what I mean? So it's 2 different things, right. And we've had things with smaller infractions before that had to get corrected before we can vote. So that's just my concern. I mean, if it's not a big issue, it's not a big issue. That's perfectly fine. I just didn't pick up on that until I was reading it earlier tonight. So if Dennis says it's not an issue, it's not an issue.
Well, I think, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I think what's being asked of you is this agreement is going on right now. I don't think there's any expenditure of funds other than lights and something else. We have an understanding with CAC on what the insurance requirements are going to do and things like that. This is just confirming our understanding with them. I think both sides have been living with this agreement. We just want to get it documented.
So do we need to amend this item to, to change the
No, it's for the
dates?
fall semester 2016.
Fall semester?
Right. Yeah, it's for the fall semester
No,
2016.
I agree with Councilmember Lewis. It would have been nice to know.
The original document, when I originally wrote this, was actually before the class started, but because of a hiccup of a missing paragraph or whatever from CAC on this agreement, there's been some back and forth getting it confirmed and conformed appropriately. So
based on this facility use agreement, it talks specifically about the full EMT class, and on item 2, section 4, it says CAC will provide the class to employees of CFD at no charge to the city. So if I was to read this as is written, Coolidge Fire Department employees would get the full EMT class at no charge. Because I know we have employees who aren't EMTs yet, or volunteers that would love to have a free EMT class because it's a $6,000 class. So according to this agreement in front of us, we should be getting a full EMT class, not a refresher class like the agenda item says. So if we vote this yes, then I expect to get a full free class out of it, not a refresher class, which is much different from what this document says. Because the agenda item specifically says refresher, but the documents that were signed with CAC in the agreement speak fully about the full EMT class.
So since the horse has already left the barn on this, if you will, do we want to table this until we get the correcting and wording on this?
Or what we could do is, Mr. Mayor, because you're looking at paragraph 1 that talks about EMS 125, emergency medical technician class.
On the background part, but under agreement, it says, therefore, the parties agree as follows, and under obligations of CAC, CAC agrees to, provide the class, the blackboard for students, the equipment, and then section 4, provide the class to employees of CFD at no charge to the city. Well, when I see the word the class, if you look further up, the class is cooperating and providing an EMS 125 basic emergency medical technician class, which is the full EMT class. Refresher is like EMS 2 something, like it's a completely different number, it's a completely different class. It's for already trained EMTs just to get their cert redone for 2 years. So
we
it may be the smallest of all issues, but it's a binding document.
I think council can amend that section. I mean, it's in paragraph 1, because after that, it's not defined again. It's just defined as the class, I think, after that.
Well, if CAC is willing to give us free room in this full class, then why not take that versus refresher?
I think CAC is willing to give us room in the class that they're holding in our building.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And that
speaking
the
about.
class they're holding in our building is the refresher class.
Well, they're actually holding a full class, and they were going to repay us by giving us a refresher class for all our existing EMTs. That was the original understanding. So.
Yeah, that's not what they agree. I mean, I agree with Councilmember Lewis.
So I think we need to table this.
Pardon me?
I think we need to table this until we can find out what, is
Or we
CAC,
could-
or does
or we
CAC
could
gonna, if the chief says, well, this is what the deal is, and we don't know if CAC is gonna agree to it or not. But obviously, there's some issues with this, what we're expecting to get or maybe what they're expecting to give.
Right, because I see what Councilmember Lewis is saying is in the staff report, it says the trade-off of getting refresher training EMS 201 class, but you're saying the refresher training, because, I think the staff report says the refresher training is only $150 per EMT.
Yes, that's what the agenda item says, but the agreement with CAC is totally different than what the agenda item says.
Right, but I think in the agreement part of it, we could change, if the council wanted to change, parties wish to cooperate in providing an EMS, or, we could change that part of it and say it's the refresher class, or we could change section 4, that says it'll be the refresher class. Provide the refresher class to employees of Coolidge Fire Department at no charge to the city. We could amend the agreement to make it clear that it's just the refresher class, if that's the understanding, Chief.
That was the original understanding.
Yeah.
Can we
Their
change
reference.
it though? Because CAC's already signed that document, so could we change it without
We
them
can
approving
change
that
it and send it back and ask them to re-sign it.
I don't
Or we
want
could
to
table it. If you
hamper
prefer to
or
table
hamper
it, council.
our fire guys getting training. I really want them to get this for free. It's just, I want these ducks to be in a row so there's no issue, you know?
Right.
What's been going on for the last three months? I mean,
That's the regular full class that students are paying for that we're just housing. We didn't have anybody at the fire department that was specifically interested in that class because they could have attended that class.
So I think, Mr. Mayor, option of council is to, one, table it if you'd prefer to, or you could approve this agreement with an amendment to Section 2, Roman numeral 4, saying that it'd be the refresher class, and then we could have CAC re-sign it.
Okay. Is that, what's the pleasure, Councilman Lewis? Is that you wanted to pull it off there? Do you want to do that?
Whatever's going to allow us to train our guys, but keep it legal at the same time. So, because I'm not against this whatsoever, it's just when I noticed these vast differences,
right,
I didn't want to put us in
right
potential issue.
Then go ahead.
Well, I make a motion, we just amend it, that Section 2,
Roman numeral 4,
Roman numeral 4, to reflect what we were just talking about.
the refresher class, right.
The refresher class.
And we take it back to that CAC. We'll have
And
to
then we'll
sign
have
it again.
CAC re-sign it.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Refresher training
Second.
class.
Refresher training class.
Okay, so we got what we need, Nora? And there's
A second, whatever.
second, too. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you.
Sorry for putting you on the spot like that, Chief. It's just, I caught it late and
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'd just like to say that, I know the chief did approach me. I know we have a very strategic partnership with Central Arizona College, was trying to facilitate what they were looking for here to help some of our local people with this training. So,
well, they have a great program. That's where I got my EMT cert, and it's a great program.
So we have some type of IGE with them anyway.
I don't know if we do or not. Okay. Item number 12. Consider approval of accepting a Governor's Office of Highway Safety 2017 Selective Traffic Enforcement Program STEP Grant, contract number 2017 PT013, in the amount of $6,000 awarded to the Coolidge Police Department to be used to pay overtime and ERE expenses for speed enforcement details, authorizing the city manager and police chief to execute the GOHS contract. All right. Chief?
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, and council members. The Coolidge Police Department has applied for and been awarded a 2017 Selective Traffic Enforcement Program, or STEP grant. This grant is to be used to pay overtime and ERE expenses for speed enforcement details to enhance traffic safety in our city. Be happy
Yes,
to try and answer any questions.
I pulled that one. By way of illustration, I know folks probably think I'm nuts, but that's okay. A few years back, I got a speeding ticket. So if I say yes to this, I'm going to be one of the people that get pulled over, I'm sure. But a few years back, I got pulled over and had to go to speeding class. And on that Saturday morning, one of the deputies stood up, and as he was teaching us, he said, "We can pull you over 3 times for every mile that you drive." And everyone laughed in the class, and I thought, you know what? That really is not funny. That's just not funny. And I'm just not a fan of big government. You already know that. I think Coolidge PD does a great job. And yes, I have been pulled over, and they have been great. Very, very, professional and everything. But I'm not a fan of paying for overtime just to have people sit out there to pull over speeding violators. I'm just not a fan of that. There was a day where the police officers were peacekeepers, not law enforcers. And I realized that was a long time gone, but I just wanted to mention that. Although I recognize that number 13 is coming up, I do see a difference between this and DUIs. I realize that gets into safety issues, which takes up more time for you guys, and I don't want that to happen. That's why I didn't pull that one. But this is just one of those that I felt like, based on principle, I really wanted to be able to say no.
So speeding is not a safety item?
Speeding obviously can be a safety item, and if you speed and cause an accident, I'm sure that you will pay the price for it.
And if you don't break the law, you don't have to worry about getting pulled over, so.
I'm not encouraging anyone to break the law or to go speed. I know, because he said, well, don't.
Any of that.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but.
I do have questions, but I'm not touching
But that's okay.
Pulled it.
All right.
Bob pulled it.
Oh, I thought you pulled
I have
it.
questions. But
Yeah, I
no,
was
go
until
ahead.
Steve started.
Go ahead. Let him
No, that's it. I said my piece.
And I'm surprised he got a speeding ticket because he drives worse than my grandmother does. So he's slow.
I
Not
learned
my
my lesson.
grandmother.
I learned my lesson, and now I dutifully submit. And for other reasons, Anyway, I said my piece. Thank you.
I just have a couple questions for you, Chief, if no one else interrupted me.
Go ahead.
The speed enforcement details, how do those get selected? And the reason why I'm asking is because through personal contacts or through messages in social media, I get a lot of complaints about speeding up where we need to put a traffic light by Walmart and Safeway area, and people driving fast to kind of make the light to go before it turns red. And I'll be honest with you, in the years I've lived here, I've never once seen a police officer in that area conducting traffic details. So how are these details organized? Do we have data saying which parts of the city we think have the biggest infractions? Because what it sounds like, that is a pretty bad area from all the citizen complaints that I've received. And my response is, go talk to the chief, because I don't enforce the law. They're speeding. But I'm just curious, so how those get determined and how they not get determined.
Mayor Thompson, Councilmember Lewis. 3 general ways is how we do it. We don't go out and willy-nilly pick a street and just start shooting radar. It's done through analysis, crash analysis based on speed. Crashes that are caused by speed, those take a priority. Citizen complaints, and usually what we'll do is first put out the speed radar trailer to verify that those complaints are correct. And then lastly, we use some of this monies for back-to-school, school zone speed enforcement. And those are the 3 primary ways.
Those little speed signs that like to flash at you when you drive by them, although they're not radar, like ticket radars, do we receive any data from those as far as how many speeders we have coming past that?
They can be set up to take data.
Is that an extraordinary cost for us? Because every time in that area, that thing's up where I'm talking about, it's always going, so I understand the complaints I get. You would think that if we can get the data, it might show that's probably an area we could spend a couple, hours a week or whatever enforcing traffic in that area. I mean, we get a lot of crashes in that area too. I don't know the number, and it's probably not as significant as we have on the outside of town in the rural, where there's no housing. But it's just, it's a question I receive all the time. It's just I wasn't sure the answer, and since it came up, it popped in my head. So
those are the 3 primary ways.
Okay. But how difficult would it be to get the data from, I know it's not the agenda item, but just since I'm on the topic, is that something that's extremely difficult to do? Or
No.
cost?
Are you requesting data?
No. I'm asking if the police department itself gets the data from those little flashy signs. And if so, then the data must not be saying that's a high need area to be enforced then.
The analysis that we primarily do is on crashes and then the cause of crashes.
Okay. But
He's saying they can be set up that way.
that's what I'm asking. So I'm asking, do we already receive that data, or would it be extremely expensive to receive that data from those signs saying how many speeders they get past that on a daily?
I believe we can adjust the equipment to get that data.
Okay, that's what I was asking. 'Cause I think that data would probably say we should do some speed enforcement in that area. So
I'll research that and send an email to council as to whether or not we can do that or not.
thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Anybody have anything else you want to? You're going to confess to something, Gilbert?
Yeah.
Can we take
No,
it
I'm just going to say, I've seen, I drive by those areas a lot because of the kids and everything, and I've seen those cars in front of me when they're speeding. That thing starts flashing, they slow down. I mean, they do, and I check my speed, make sure I'm not going too fast. And I got the Suburban for the kids. It's easy to go too fast, and but they work. I think they slow down. Just let people remind them that they're going a little too fast. So yeah, if you can get data from them, that'd be really good. But
I think the fact that they're not photo radars, people know that. So I've seen people go way. You mean both sides of the spectrum? So
yeah.
it was just my concern, and that's it.
I've seen patrols out by the heavy areas at night because I come in at different times and I'm always on the road. It seems like, hopefully not too long after that, but they're out there. And sometimes where you see the real speeders are down in the middle of town when the officers are somewhere else. For some reason, some of the they're just, and I'm looking around. But you can't be everywhere, so I think those things all help.
Correct.
Thank you.
And the signal light intersection at the ruins should help a lot with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Chief, when we do, and we're like in the middle stage where Suzanne on the stoplight at the ruins, is there 5 stages and we're in stage 3 or something? That's what I thought. So we're getting there, and when that stoplight comes in, they'll either speed up to get through the yellow on the stoplight or they'll slow down. But I mean, that will stop most people. I don't know if it'll stop everybody.
I was going to say, I shouldn't have spoke up. It got
But,
worse.
I'm not mentioning any names, but anyway. But yeah, Chief, if it's not too much trouble, send us the data when you got it.
I will do this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Is there anything else?
Mayor, I make a motion we approve item number 12 as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Mayor Thompson, council members, thank you.
All right. Item 16. Consider award of bid proposal to Pinal Hispanic Council to purchase and redevelop the city-owned property at 232 West Central Avenue, Coolidge, Arizona, authorizing the city manager to negotiate a contract for sale of the property. Okay.
I had the question. So I was looking at the information. I don't know if I spent all my iVision on the CAC one, but I couldn't find anywhere in there that talked about the sell price or the bid price. Is there not a bid?
No, and mayor and members of the council, we submitted this request for proposal, advertised it, and received one proposal back from the Pinal Hispanic Council to redevelop the downtown property, formerly the Cohen Building property, and the adjacent parking lot that's owned by the city. Our proposal did not ask for didn't suggest that they submit a price that they would be willing to pay for this property. That would be negotiated and then brought back to the council in the form of some purchase agreement. The intent of this request for proposal and for your consideration tonight is strictly their proposal to develop the property for professional offices supporting the Pinal Hispanic Council activities on a vacant piece of property in our downtown. You can see by their proposal they're considering the expenditure of a significant amount of dollars for building a new 8 to 10,000 square foot office building. And this would represent one of the first new construction projects in the downtown in who knows how long. And if you've seen their facilities in other locations, their newer facilities, they're buildings that I think we would be very proud of having in our downtown area. So purpose tonight is just look at their, if you've had a chance to look at their proposal, what they're proposing to do in the downtown, then authorize us to go out and negotiate a kind of a purchase contract. We do know we have a little bit of money in this property, and when we paid back taxes, we actually paid a few other fees when we got this property through a gift agreement. But I think the most important thing to think about is the redevelopment of this property in the downtown and what that will do for the downtown Coolidge area, more so than what we might be able to get from a purchase contract. This property, one of the advantages of redeveloping this site is since it did have a large building on it before that was about 10,000 square feet, there would be no impact fees. There's no impact. Building came off, we put a new building on, and so there's a lot of reasons why the Pinal Hispanic Council would find this property in this region, with their clientele, advantageous to their program.
Okay. I didn't have anything else until you just mentioned something. So there's going to be brand new construction,
yes,
right? And then we have this brand new road. Is the construction, because I know they use a lot of heavy equipment and trucks that come in and stuff, there going to be any issues or concerns with them being on that road or any damage?
No, we want to be sure that, I think obviously they do have the alleyway. When they did the demolition of this building, I think the road was kind of under construction or in the process of being constructed. But I think we'd try to steer them down the alleyway if possible. But if they're going to do any damage to the road, we're going to keep a good eye on that. But hopefully they won't. They won't have that heavy of equipment on this property.
Well, we have fully loaded trucks coming out of some other businesses
We
down
do,
there.
yeah.
That are going on our new roads. I mean, if you look at, they're gonna build a conference room that the city citizens can use. They're gonna bring
Yes.
employment. And if you want to redevelop it downtown, one of the elements you need is people. And this will bring people to the downtown, but I know with the type of loan they're looking to acquire, you can't gift it. They got to buy the property.
Right.
So anyway, is there any?
No, that's it. It wasn't in there, and I didn't know if it was something that we didn't know yet. Because we did pay a little bit. I would like to at least get what we paid back. I'm sure we'll get more, but I would at least like to get that back.
So we'd look, again, we can talk to them about what they can or think the property might be worth. I think it's worth more to us to see.
It's worth more than what we paid in back tax.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I would like to give you a kudos for working hard at this. You brought this to the table, and you've been working on this, and I thank you very much for your hard work.
Well, if it's a new building downtown, and if you've ever seen the building they have in Eloy,
I have.
Quite frankly, it's the nicest building in Eloy. They do a lot of business, and now they have the Santan region is in their service area. So we'll be getting a lot of family members bringing people over to Coolidge, and hopefully they'll spend money in Coolidge.
Done a good job, thank you.
So, thank you.
Kudos.
Okay, do we have a motion to?
Motion to approve if there's no further discussion, sir.
Second.
Motion to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Business regular items.
Mayor, sorry to interrupt. Can Councilmember Murrieta would like to be on the
Okay.
for me to call her so she can be available
Sure.
remotely.
Give her a call.
So you can just give me a second.
Can you step up for a minute?
Sure. Yeah, we'll take a few minutes to get Councilmember Murrieta.
For the emergency clause. Right.
So doesn't meet the 3/4.
They can drop the emergency provision. Okay.
Because
so
it's
probably
not going to get
they can drop
3/4.
it. Okay. Do that on your map.
Hello? Hello, Tatiana?
Yes.
Okay, can you hear us?
Yes.
All right, we can hear you really well. Mayor's just giving a quick break, like 1 or 2 minutes, and then we'll get started, okay?
Okay.
All right.
You missed all the fun stuff.
How late is it where she is?
I don't know where she's
It's after
at.
10.
2 hours.
Yeah, it's after 10.
It's
over there.
10:30, right?
Yeah, it's 10:30.
10:30 there.
Where's she at?
I'm in my hotel room getting ready for bed.
Everybody heard that.
Are you saying your prayers?
Eat your vitamins. Take your break. Take your vitamins.
All the above.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
We're on item number 19 as soon as everybody gets back. A couple of people went to use the facilities, and when they get back, we'll get going on item 19.
I should have gotten me another one.
Oh, I thought you said they were out of ones.
No, there's a full of them, yeah.
I just, I want, when they got her on the phone. Oh, thank you.
No, I would let him read the whole thing. And then, yeah.
Hi, Tatiana.
Do you want a cookie, Mr. Mayor?
No, thank you. I might get one for the road if there's any left, but I see.
Might not be any left,
I was
Mr.
gonna
Mayor.
say,
You
I
keep calling
see,
me, you keep calling these breaks, there won't be any left. You know, he thought he was going to defeat it. That's what this is all about. Huh?
And then
Defeat it, but now he knows they can pass it without the emergency.
Oh,
You're poisoned.
What?
That one right there.
Ricky, you should take like 10 of them.
I am.
Yes,
Speedy.
please. Yeah, exactly. Do me a favor.
Speedy.
You missed it. My hotel room. Get ready to go.
You ready? Okay. Under business regular items, item 19, resolution number 16-26, a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, authorizing the execution and delivery of an agreement, a trust agreement, a placement agent agreement, and an obligation purchase agreement, approving the sale, execution, and delivery of excise tax revenue, obligations, Series 2016 bank qualified in one or more series, evidencing a proportionate interest of the owners thereof in an agreement between the city of Coolidge, Arizona, and a trustee, authorizing and ratifying the taking of all other actions necessary to consummate of the transactions contemplated by this resolution, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to offer an amendment and make a motion to amend this resolution by striking and declaring an emergency at the end, because it would make the effective date automatically right away, and this way, if we strike it, then it'll allow 30 days before it takes effect. So I'd like to make that motion, please.
Okay, can we do that, or what do
Yeah,
we?
he can do, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Lopez can do that as long as there's a second to his amendment.
Is there a second?
And what's the purpose of this?
Yeah, when you leave the emergency clause, it takes effect immediately once it's approved. But if you remove it, then it's just a standard 30-day period before it's enacted.
And will this affect the, what we had talked about in the special meeting last week about
What?
locking in the interest rate or anything? Will
No,
that affect that whatsoever?
No, Councilmember Hudson, our rate is locked in, and we anticipated needing the 30 days, and so we are covered. The closing will happen somewhere around November 30th, so it would take in that 30 days, and we're covered.
Okay, I second that.
Okay, so do we need to vote to do that, Dennis?
Vote on the amendment.
Right, I don't know if there's any more discussion,
No,
Mr.
no,
Mayor.
I mean, but it's.
No, I think the motion is to approve the resolution as read, except for the emergency clause,
Okay.
and he got a second to that motion.
So does anybody want to say anything?
We're approving the resolution before we've even talked about it?
No,
No.
he can call for, I mean, he can have,
Just
the
the
motion's
change.
on the table, you can still discuss it now.
Yeah.
And you can have questions of anybody, but I'm just stating what the motion and the second is.
Just to make
I thought his motion was just to drop the emergency off of it.
But I thought he said, he moved to approve the resolution without the emergency clause. Councilmember Hudson seconded that motion.
Yeah,
So
I
that's the
could
motion
clarify,
before.
and that's my
Right.
motion is to approve it, but without the emergency
Without
clause
the
on it.
emergency clause. So if
They
anybody
would
wants
amend
to
the motion.
discuss it, they can
So it would
discuss
amend
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically what we're talking about right now is just that it has no emergency clause on it, and you're asking for us to approve that.
Right.
Without the emergency clause.
Yeah.
Right. You'd still be approving the entire resolution except for the emergency clause.
But there can still be discussion,
Yeah.
and people are going to
Yeah.
vote the way they're going to vote, but there's still. So in saying that, if anybody
Am
wants
I up?
anything to say, then let's hear it now.
Really. This is the item that was talked about during the budget process. Street maintenance was a high priority. It was actually a top priority with the council. We talked about a $2.5 million loan. Basically, it's $2,550,000 loan. We received 8 financing proposals. We discussed those on September 26th at a council meeting. We are at a council work session, I believe. On the 17th, we approved a rate sheet with Chase Bank setting the interest rate at 1.95%. The financing would be for 15 years. It does fall in line with what we budgeted for this year. I budgeted a debt service for each year after this one at $201,947, and our debt service is under $200,000 per year. So it does fall within the budget that we proposed. Also, at the meeting on the 17th, we talked about possibly rolling the approximate $50,000 of closing costs into the loan. Chase Bank gave us that opportunity. That's why your resolution says up to $2.6 million. After Mr. Dodd and I went through many iterations of the debt service schedule, we decided to stick with the $2.5 million, the $2.55 million, mostly because our first year's debt service, I had budgeted $100,000, half of what we would normally get in a year for this first year, but our debt service for the first year is less than $5,000 because we will pay just an interest payment, very low one, in the month of January. Principal and interest will be paid in the month of July. So the $100,000 that I set aside for this year's payment, we'll spend $50,000 of that to pay for our closing costs up front. We don't have to include those in the loan. Keeps our debt service down and the interest down on the loan, or on the, not the loan, the obligation.
Okay. Well, before we get going, Tatiana, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, start down here. Councilmember Lewis?
Wow, I never get to go first anymore. So, yes, I don't really have questions, just have comments. And I might pop a question in here and there, but to start off with, I am in 100% agreement that our roads are pretty bad and they need to get taken care of. I'm also 100% agreement that property tax or sales and tax increase is not a good thing, and I have not to this point ever supported a tax increase, nor will I. But with that said, I really don't, well, let me see, and the interest rate is phenomenal. However, just because someone offers you a great deal to take money doesn't mean you need to take the money. Because if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. And everybody's idea of affording is different, but in my opinion, we can't afford it. I am very hesitant to gamble the next 15 years of our financial future when there's so many things up in the air. And we're in a big election, obviously, in a few weeks. We don't know what's going to happen. There's been concerns with local issues in our state with shared revenues. If, Santan becomes a city, everyone's shared revenues are going to drop. I don't anticipate any further recessions coming, but if we even have one that's 1/4 of what we had recently, having this extra, it's going to be terrible. You know what I mean? So, and recently when I discussed during the budget season, when you look at ways of cutting in areas so we could be more financially sound in the future, it was told to me, well, then pick somebody out here so we can fire them because that's how we're going to save money. Well, if we go $200,000 a year more in debt for the next 15 years and the economy goes bad, a recession happens, whoever becomes president does some things that they didn't say they were going to do, which happens all the time. The governor makes some changes, the cities incorporate. Then we're going to be in that spot, and we're doing it to ourselves. And if that happens, we're not going to have to look out and pick one person. We're going to have to pick almost every employee that's in this audience, if not more. And as much as people giggle at that or think that's funny, I thought it was funny when I mentioned it during budget season to pick one out because that was not the case. We would not have to have done that. But when you're talking on a grander scale, it's very quite possible. I think in our last recession, we had some bad cuts that had to be made. And at the end of the day, your debt's got to get paid. You have to pay the bills. So we can't cut our bills when either of those things happen. We have to cut other places. And where do you cut? Staffing, expenditures in city buildings, how much copy paper you could buy this month, stuff like that, silly as it sounds. So with as much uncertainty as there is in our future, and as much as I really will like to see our infrastructure improve, I do disagree with the fact that people don't not come here because of our roads. They look at how safe the city is. They look at, how clean the city looks. And if everything is going in our city, I think the roads is the least of our concerns. Our city looks very bad when it comes to buildings, the vacant buildings, some residential areas where the buildings themselves are just terrible. We don't look like we want people to be here, and I don't think it's the roads giving that message. So with that said, when we take our vote, I'm not supporting this because I'm not willing to gamble with so many uncertainties, and I hope in 15 years I could say I was wrong and we made it through and our revenues were 10 times what they are now and we're flying colors in the city. Coolidge is the best city in Arizona financially. but I'm optimistic too. Yeah, I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't think I'm going to be. So that's all I got to say. Everyone's going to counteract what I had to say, so go ahead.
I should probably, Tatiana, do you have anything you want to say?
No.
Okay. Vice Mayor.
You know, when I first ran, I had several citizens talk to me about the roads, and I'll sign your petition, I'll vote for you if you do something with our roads. Well, we do have a program in place, and I think our citizens, most of the citizens are happy with what we're doing. And I feel that the voters elected me to do what is best for the city now and then for the future. I do know that the recession, as Gary was talking about, there was some issues there, but we still made our loan payment for the park. So I don't see a problem there. And so therefore, I'm in support.
Thank you, Mayor. Just, you know, we all worry about the economy, and I look at all that stuff and all the time, and kind of like a nerd about it. But, you know, the roads, if we don't maintain them and take care of them, they will get worse. And we have the opportunity to fix them for a really reasonable interest rate. And I know that from what I heard and all the economic development things I've been into is that roads are important, and investors look at that, because if I'm coming here with a building that's worth millions and the city won't even take care of its own infrastructure, why am I going to invest in this place? And that's a concern. I mean, all cities look at that, and everybody slowed down during the economic downturn. Everybody's trying to catch up and fixing roads depending on where you were. So it's pretty important. And that's I agree with the Vice Mayor. A lot of the things I hear about are the roads. And at church, you know, I walk out of church and, when are you going to fix the roads? I'm like, well, we're looking at it, and we've made a lot of advances with some of the work that's been done so far. I think you're starting to see a lot. But those grants, as we know, are running out. So now we have to do some things on our own. And the thing is that we're taking debt, we're paying off, and we're replacing it with less payment debt. So to do something that's really good for our citizens and so in our city. So that's why I'm supporting it. That's my opinion. So that's why I support the repair of the roads. So I will support the issue.
Well, I agree with everything both Vice Mayor and Gilbert says, and you know, I've been in the retail business for 40 years, and you have got to take chances. One saying that we have in the automobile business, you got to spend money to make money, and I've done it 40 years, and I think I've been pretty successful at it. You can predict anything. You can't. I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow, you know, but I have faith in the city employees that we have in the department heads that wouldn't bring this up and didn't think that we could not pay the debt. I have trust in them, and I believe it very strongly. You know, we did go through a recession, and we did pay our debts. You know, I was in favor of the roads when I first came on the council. We had a retreat here in the council chambers, and my number one thing was taking care of the infrastructure and your city buildings, because if you can't take care of your own home, how are you going to want somebody to come in and try to buy your home? And it's the same thing. It's our responsibility as citizens to take care of our own home, and that is the city of Coolidge. You look at the roads, if we would have seen 30 years ago, if we would have had the insight, we would be sitting in the situation right now if we would have put the money away. When we had the big housing boom, if we would have taken all those impact fees and put them away, we wouldn't be in this situation. Well, you know, it's time that we have to pay the piper. And if, number one, like Lisa said, you know, if our infrastructure is not very good, it can reduce our credit rating, which is going to cost us more money to borrow money. Is it a gamble? Life's a gamble. Can I predict the future? No, I can't. But I know that the citizens of Coolidge will benefit, every single one of them, from what we're going to do. It's going to help bring businesses in here. It's going to improve the attitude of the citizens of Coolidge, and it's going to make our city a lot nicer place to live. So I was in favor of raising property taxes, which we did, and we earmarked that money for the roads. And I am in favor of this.
Okay, so we have two schools of thought, and One is buy now, pay later. The other is pay as you go. And it's not going to be any surprise that I am a pay as you go. I think one thing that I want to point out is we all agree taking care of home is essential. No one denies that. It's how do you take care of home? Speaking of my own home personally, as you all will have to answer for your own self, is try to stay out of debt. Don't run up the charge card. Be responsible. Speaking of what our constituents that we talked to wanted when I was running, they wanted fiscal responsibility. And everyone wants wonderful roads. We'd love to have streets paved with gold. What we should ask on the survey is, how do you want to pay for it? A survey that just says, what would you like to see done? Of course everyone wants good roads. We all want that. But it comes down to, how are you going to pay for it? Biblically speaking, there's two principles that stand out. One is debt's a curse. The other is debt is bondage. Neither of which sound real appetizing. There are principles that go before us that can guide us into the future, and we do well to listen to them. It's not a sin to go into debt, and as far as debt goes, this is a good one. I don't disagree. It's a good interest rate. But the interest rate is not what I'm looking at. The fact is, in a year from now, we will have spent $2.5 million, and we are in bondage to pay that off over the next 15 years. As opposed to, if we put the money in the bank, we would have $1 million plus in 5 years.
Well, I certainly appreciate everybody's opinion, and there's certainly a lot of truth to all of it. I don't disagree with what anybody's really said, but I've been up here a lot longer than most of these guys except one, and we've tried to find ways to finance roads for a long time. We just about beat the door down everywhere we could go for grants and bonds and everything you could look at. When I looked at this is a business decision that I think benefits. I'm going to vote yes, and this is the reason why is it's a business decision that I think that is a sound decision for the citizens of the community of Coolidge. Before, let's say 10 years ago, the main complaint I heard when I ran into somebody was, quite frankly, our police department. Don't hear that much anymore, but I sure hear the complaint about the roads. 2 or 3 years ago, we implemented a system on survey-based, so the citizens could have input. We did a survey. We sent it out in the city mailings for the invoices for, was it the water or sewer bills? It went to all the people that live here, and it came back, and the number one item that everybody was concerned with was roads. So there's no doubt roads are important, and when you look at how to pay for them, well, we had a citizen in here a couple meetings ago that named off a bunch of things that we've already done. We've already done that. The only way you can generate revenue as a city is you can raise sales tax. If you raise sales tax, you put our businesses at an unfair disadvantage to the surrounding communities, and then we lose business, and ultimately we lose sales revenue. So that's not going to work. You raise the property tax, you're going to penalize the guys, the people that own property, as opposed to the ones that don't. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But as we saw the last time we discussed it, the majority of the property tax money went to the school board anyway. The city didn't really see hardly any of that money. So when you start to take everything, and to me, I look at it like we paid for Kenilworth, and it was a larger payment. $30,000, almost larger payment than what we're looking at here.
Right.
So we made that through probably what I don't know, some people call it a recession, some people don't. I certainly call it a recession. We made it through the worst recession that I've seen in my lifetime, and I'm an old guy. And we didn't have any problems. I mean, there were a few bumps in the road, but we did it. The one concern that Councilmember Lewis mentions is one of the things that I've fought against and worried about is if Santana ever incorporates, but I don't know that they will or they won't, and the only way I see that happening is instead of 60,000, they try to incorporate it 5,000 and go from there. And I don't think they want to do that. And not everybody in Santan wants to be incorporated. So there's a lot of things, a lot of issues, a lot of ifs, and I agree with everybody. Everybody brings a valid point to the table. But if you're going to move a city forward, infrastructure is very important. You got to have infrastructure. If you don't have infrastructure, you're not going to have much luck, I think, in getting a lot of businesses in here. And I think we've taken a step in the right direction by redoing our downtown. And now, the people that haven't gotten any of the roads need to start getting a little taste of it themselves. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents for what it's worth. And I think we should vote, because we can sit up here all night and decide why or why not to. But let's get to voting. Unless
I got one thing
Go ahead.
I'd like to add.
Go ahead.
So, and I know this survey that was done last year is something that people bring up, but I do agree. If you put how you want to pay for it, you might get a little bit different responses. So, wanting to know what the people wanted, because obviously we can't knock door to door and ask all 12,000 residents what they want. Don't have the time to do that. I created an online poll on 2 local chat rooms and had over 200 votes. And I did the same kind of list like we did on the survey. And streets received 11 votes out of over 200. And I had a lot of private messages, probably 3 or 4 in favor of roads, and the rest of them in favor of, creating, the downtown looking better, improve the police department, the fire department, activities for the youth. Water park happened, the new water thing, park or pool was like one of the top 3. So based on those citizens, regardless if they lived here 2 years, 4 years, 30 years, or 60 years, that's how I'm going to base my vote, is how what they said they wanted. Because those are actual people that you've talked to, not just people who filled out a card and mailed it in. So, and they knew how it was getting paid for. On the survey, we don't talk about that. There was no mention of that. I, for one, I still think it's a bad idea, but I am going to vote the way that over 200 people have asked me to vote. So that's all I got.
And that's what we should do. And if that worked for you, I mean, that's fine. I'll stand by our survey, and at least I know the people that mailed it back lived in the city. I can't say that about Facebook. So.
I agree.
All right. Well, if we're going to do it, let's do it.
We have
We've already made it, so it's a resolution. Okay.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Councilmember Huddleston?
No.
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
No.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 20, resolution number 16-27. A resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, authorizing and directing the mayor to enter in an intergovernmental agreement, IGA JPA file number 16-000591. Thank you, Tatiana. -I between the state of Arizona Department of Transportation and the city of Coolidge for the Main Street improvements to Main Street from Coolidge Avenue to Pinkley Avenue and Central Avenue from Main Street to First Street. Susanna?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members.
Thank you guys for coming out. We appreciate all your hard work.
This resolution that we have before you tonight is one of the last steps we need to do to move forward with the construction on Main Street. When we first started doing the work on Coolidge Avenue, they combined basically the design and the construction into one IGA. Over the time, they have now split that. You have approved and accepted the design IGA, and that has all been moving forward. We are now nearing completion and almost ready to go to construction. In order to do that, we would have to adopt this resolution as well as sign that IGA. So this resolution is for that. Once that occurs, we have some final TCEs or temporary construction easements that will need to be done on the project. We will then need to write that check for $800,000 or close to $800,000. It's about $770,000. And then they will advertise it, bid it, and we will be looking towards construction sometime in probably February or March.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from anybody?
No, sir.
Gary? No? All right, it's a resolution. I guess we need a roll call. Oh, we'll need a motion first. Is there a motion to do something?
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 16-27 as presented.
Second.
All right.
Okay, Councilmember Lewis?
No.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, did she leave? She left?
Yep, she only wanted to be there.
Thank you.
Item 21, consider approval of entering into agreement for signage between the City of Coolidge and Yesco LLC for the purpose of purchasing an electronic message board sign in the amount not to exceed $33,893 and waiving the sealed bid requirements in the best interest of the city. Is that you, Mr. Miller?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Another item that was considered during the council's strategic planning process was how can we better market events and activities and try to capture some of the people that are actually commuting along our state highways at the entrances to the city. And of course, at the entrance to the city on the north end of town at Highway 87 and 287, Arizona Boulevard 287, we have an existing menu board sign that's been there for a number of years, kind of out in front of the Walmart. And in your packet, you'll see an illustration of the current condition of that sign. Our Parks and Recreation Department, they'll go out and they'll, for different activities or events or, sign-ups for Little League, they'll go out there and they have to put up these little vinyl letters, and oftentimes those things get blown out. And it's really a kind of an archaic way of handling advertising. So I'm working with Ricky LaPaglia with the Parks and Recreation Department. We approached the Young Electric Sign Company to kind of get an idea of how communities and other agencies have really used effective marketing through electronic message board signage. A good comparison of the sign that they have proposed in this proposal is the one at McDonald's. If you look at that sign, it's the high resolution, very, very visible, readable at varying speeds. Up there you have the benefit of being at an intersection, so if people are stopped there, they should be able to see some of the messages, whether it's advertising events at the Performing Arts Center or council meetings or various other activities. We've been soliciting for some donations to help offset some of the costs of the sign. I can't say that we've been totally successful in getting sufficient donations to cover the entire expense, but we are continuing that effort. We will be providing some advertising on the sign for sale. I think the city of Glendale does some of that in their community, right? I think, from what I've been told, to offset some of these costs and to put a little bit of money into a fund for ongoing maintenance and operation and eventually replacement. These signs are not inexpensive. You can see that the proposed price is a little over $33,000. These are pretty durable. This is a sign that's made in the good old US of A. I've been told through the company that if you are not careful about buying the appropriate type of sign message board, that you will have a nightmare in maintenance costs. And so they're a very reputable company. I know that the city of Peoria has Young Electric Sign Company on their list of preferred vendors. We looked at their contract. We saw where they had proposed a monument-style sign for the city of Peoria, although it wasn't an electronic message board, but they also allow them to do all of their signage in the city of Peoria. There are some other jurisdictions. I know the city of Avondale the Avondale School District purchased a number of electronic message board signs from this vendor. as well as the Mesa Community College. We believe it's in the best interest to go ahead and pursue the Young Electric Sign Company proposal, given their reputation, and our recommendation this evening is for your approval of the purchase agreement to have them move forward with the installation of this sign, replacing the old marquee sign at that intersection. There, we do have one other expense that we've covered through our beautification funds. As we look at this as beautification and marketing, some of these dollars could actually come out of that beautification fund, depending on how we're doing on, with the expenditure of those. But the other expense we have is permitting and installation of some power. There's electrical power through San Carlos Irrigation Project, or the Irrigation District, SKIP, I think, or project. And so we've been working with them on the permits. We have ADOT permits in place, and they will be helping us with the electrical component, the amount of electricity at the sign to cover this this new sign. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, I would say, Rick, that I think I'm under the impression that we're going to sell advertising on that sign.
We're going to work very hard at doing that. I mean, if
Anybody that would care to donate now would be in lieu, in kind, if you will. They'd be able to advertise on that sign. So it is something for businesses, and I can tell you it catches your eye, because driving through downtown Eloy, they just put one in down there by their library, and you sure notice it. So anyway, I'll open it up if anybody has any comments. I know that Councilmember Murrieta, this was very important to her at our retreat, but I think it would be very beneficial for us to have one of these out there on the road. Only because, I mean, there's a lot of things happening down here. There may be some things happening that we want to put on there. We just had somebody come, Senator McCain came to Coolidge Saturday, and the council wasn't aware of it. So you found out through word of mouth if you bumped into the right person somewhere. So those are the things that, some things like that we could put on there too. Anytime you get more information and communicate, I think you're better off. But anyways, anybody got anything to say?
Yeah, so there's lots of pictures on our thing. I'm guessing those are just samples of their past work, because some of it's not electrical stuff, right?
Correct. The Young Electric Sign Company has a packet of material of the various signs that they produce internationally. They're a big company.
And just to clarify, so on our sign, the existing structure we're going to leave is just the menu board itself. That's going to come out. We're going to put the new electrical sign in, from what I could tell.
Yeah, they're going to try. They'll preserve the existing monuments, the architectural features of the sign, which are nice. I mean, they kind of tried to mimic. I think the council in the past tried to mimic the architecture of the Casa Grande National Monument. They'll replace the top part of the sign, which says City of Coolidge, which is not going to be an electronic message. That'll be a cabinet sign, but it's so faded and messed up right now. They're going to make that look nice and fresh, and then the menu board will below that on readable from two sides. So actually two menu board sides, one for westbound and eastbound traffic.
Okay, so it's going to be double-sided? So
Oh yes, yeah, both ways, correct.
I know during the retreat, this was one of the top two things I know I pushed for too, so I'm glad to see it's getting done. I think, like the mayor discussed, and like we've had plenty of private conversations where the ability for our local businesses to advertise, maybe like a Garrett Motors, a huge tent sale or something, Coolidge Days, Cotton Days, things at the village. When you're driving by, I don't really pay much attention to that sign there. It's kind of ratty looking, but if you have this nice, bright, new digital thing just scrolling along, you can see what it is. I think it's going to draw more people to turn right or turn left, depending on the direction, versus keep on going. Especially if we have things like Senator McCain's going to be in town, or for a parade, Veterans Day parade, things that people don't really know about. I think that's going to draw people in, and I think it's going to upgrade our image a little bit, more advanced, a city. I think I don't see a negative. I know the price is kind of high considering, but I know you've already have been getting donations in from local businesses, and I think if more local businesses, wanted to progress maybe their sales, to come and talk to you, because it's inexpensive advertising. and you put an ad in the newspaper, you might reach a few hundred people. This is going to reach a few hundred every hour. You know what I mean? Like, people drive by it constantly. So
Correct.
it's the best way to advertise anything going on. Too bad we don't have it already, because we can let everybody know that this Friday, Coolidge versus Florence is happening. Football game at Florence High School this
That'd
year.
be great.
But
We could even put the prediction of the score.
not this year. 72 to 12, maybe.
We're going to table that issue.
But it's good, even our the Parks and Rec has events. I just think it's going to be. I can't find a negative in it. You know what I mean? Like, not that I'd want to, because it is something I was passionate about, and I believe Tatiana was right there with me. So I think I'm glad to see we're going that direction versus this. So I love it, and I like the design because it keeps that structure. I was worried about that structure because I know it ties in with the ruins being right across the street, and has that little park area there. So I'm glad that's not being changed. Plus, it would cost more. So I do like that. I like it a lot.
I know some of our local industries want to promote employment opportunities. We've had a few that have struggled finding people to advertise the jobs available. So that I know we'll see some of that as well on the sign.
Can't wait to see watermelons 2 for $1 soaps. Just kidding.
I don't know that we'll get like that kind of. That probably won't be.
No, I know. I know that's not something we're talking about.
We're going to have to set up. We'll certainly set up criteria for advertising and just what type of advertising we would want to promote. More of the special events, I think, primarily than anything else.
It'd be good for local events, yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of law firms that would like to get involved in this. Vice Mayor, do you have anything?
Fitzgibbons Law with a number on there?
This was one of my top items when we were at our retreat, along with the streets and the airport, and those things are looking up, so I'm real excited because it will just dress up that area a little more, and I think it's a wonderful idea.
Just I agree with everything. Young Electric Sign Company, I used to issue them permits in Glendale back in the early 90s, believe it or not, and they've got a great reputation, and as the city manager said, and the technology of these signs has gotten really better over the years and keeps getting better. Look at the ones on the freeway. They look like a big screen TV. They're massive. So the technology is really getting better, and they're getting clearer and easier to read, and they can make the lettering size so it's speed limit, you can read it correctly and everything. So
at the speed limit, Councilmember?
Yes, at the right speed limit. Then you can.
Are you going to put DUI detail this Friday? Rob, stay home.
I just want to make sure.
So it's and Glendale has. If you look at Westgate, there's 2 big billboards, and those belong to the city. But they advertise on those, and every so often you'll see a public service message to the public. And then there is other private ones too, but those 2 are actually part of the city, and they create revenue. But they also provide an opportunity to provide public messages based on the revenue they provide. So it's right there on the 101. There's 2 of them. Great. So.
And the great thing about this technology, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, is that through your phone with the modem, you can change the messages. So we'll have an individual there within the city. Yeah, we'll be very careful of them. But we'll actually be able to change the message electronically over a smartphone.
No, I yielded my time to Councilman Lewis already.
Want me to give you 2 minutes back? I said all good things, man.
Rick, you led this up, correct? It was the private sector, they're the ones that you solicited, these businesses.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that. It's just a beautiful.
Yes, I did. And there's a few of them that have responded. I'm hoping that we get more responses. I'll be reaching out, continuing to do that. I headed this up with Ricky LaPaya. I give Ricky a lot of credit for this as well. He's done a lot of research here, and will be really overseeing. His department will be overseeing the signage here. So.
It's always better when the private sector is involved. They'll make sure a good job is done. I'm thankful, and it's an excellent opportunity. If you own a business out there, it will definitely be eye-catching.
Mayor, sorry, I'm going to take some more of Steve's time. Just to clarify, I know we've received some donations already, but even though we're going to approve, or we might approve this, doesn't mean people still can't contact you and donate, right? You're still taking donations, even though we don't have necessarily the structure on buying the advertising space, but you're still taking the donations, which will come with advertising space, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, we're still working on trying to.
Maybe private citizens as well, if somebody wanted to donate towards it, so they can maybe do engagement announcement on that one, something like that?
Yeah, that would be one of our promotional opportunities if someone to wish somebody a happy anniversary, or we can do those kind of messages.
So always revenue's going. I mean, it's
Mhm.
gonna do great. Yeah. Sorry, I'm taking some more of your.
No, I wasn't that. I was just thinking about, Jay Warren was here earlier.
Oh, yeah, that would be real great.
Anyway, that was
Come to
poor
Jay Warren,
taste.
we're dying to see you.
I apologize if I've offended anybody, but we all end up somewhere eventually. Okay, so are we done?
There's no further discussion. Oh, sorry, Jackie has something to say.
No, I was just gonna make.
Oh, I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
Second.
Looking forward to it.
All right. There's motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Number 22, consider approval of the infrastructure and services plan for the Coolidge Airport 2 annexation.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, as you know, we held a public hearing to consider the Airport 2 annexation. This is the balance of the city of Coolidge Airport. As part of the annexation law or statute, we are required to have the council review and approve infrastructure and services plan. This is a very easy plan to write. We just use the same one that we used for the property that was annexed immediately north, adjacent to this, for the Coolidge Airport 1. So asking the council to review or to approve the infrastructure and services plan prior to your decision on the ordinance this evening for the annexation.
Any questions?
I have a question, but I think our new sign will be great to tell people what's going on at the airport.
Absolutely. Fly-ins. Absolutely.
Down there? Okay, looking for a motion.
Motion to approve is read if there's no further discussion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. 23.
The big one.
Ordinance number 16-09, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Coolidge, extending and increasing the corporate city limits of the city of Coolidge, Pinal County, state of Arizona, pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 7, Arizona Revised Statutes and amendments thereto by annexing thereto certain territory contiguous to the existing city limits of the city of Coolidge, consisting of 318.2 acres, more or less, and located within those portions of land in sections 4 and 5, Township 6 South, Range 9 East, of the Gila and Sauk River Basin Meridian, Pinal County, Arizona, known as the Coolidge Airport 2 annexation, and authorizing the Pinal County zoning to continue in effect for said annexed territory until City of Coolidge zoning is applied to said territory, but in no event longer than 6 months after the effective date of the annexation.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, again, this just finishes up the annexation that the city has been trying to do for a number of years. We are the owner of this property. I've actually signed that annexation petition for the item to go forward this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions?
No discussion, sir. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Norma?
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to have a report from the mayor and council, city manager. We'll start down here with Councilmember Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say I attended the Hall of Fame dinner on Friday night. The game didn't go as well as we had planned, but I stayed till the end. So yeah, it was. And at the end we scored though. That was good. But anyway, and then also attended the military honor park event with Senator McCain. Like I said, I didn't know about it till I found out somebody, and then I went up there and attended. So it was really nice, and it was a great honor. And I'm glad Oscar Rodriguez was there, so welcomed him. And a lot of veterans, and really impressive was the ROTC, and they did their yell, from the Marines. It was great. So anyway, I just want to share that. Thank you.
Steve?
Yeah, not this past Saturday, but the previous Saturday, I attended a fundraiser for a friend of mine for their granddaughters who has throat cancer. It's Mike and Sue Mayberry. It was out at the Elks, and it was amazing how two communities, the community of Florence and the community of Coolidge, came together. I've never seen anything like it in my life. The amount of people that were out there from 10 o'clock Saturday afternoon. I left because I knew if I stayed, I was going to have too much fun. And but I heard that they stayed out there till midnight, and they raised probably $50,000 or more to help this young lady who has throat cancer. It's a young child. But to see those two communities come together as one for a family just shows you what a small community, both Florence and Coolidge, what they can do and change the difference that they can make in somebody's young life. So it was amazing. I've never been to anything like it. I was just at awe. So that was a great event. I went to the Coolidge Bear Hall of Fame banquet. I went to the Chamber banquet. And then today I met with Rick Miller, Ricky LaPaglia, myself, Norma, and Shauna Brinkerhoff and the United Dance Crew. It looks like everything's going to be coming together, and hopefully the next council meeting we'll have a lease agreement that we can approve to they occupy a city building. So that's all I have.
We are blessed in America to have a constitution, the first written constitution that limited government. And we just celebrated Constitution Week and had a proclamation. Miss Joyce Baker is going to be having a class. I was hoping to see her tonight. I forget who it is that's coming in to teach. I believe it's this Wednesday at 5:30. And I would encourage everyone to check it out. If there's one thing that protects our freedoms and liberties, it's the citizens knowing and understanding what has been handed down through the generations. It's eroding, it's going away, but we have an opportunity to read it, to know it, to understand it, and this is just an opportunity that I think Joyce, I'd like to thank her. It's an opportunity that she put forth that we could get involved in, learn about it.
At the public library.
Yes, sir. 5:30.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Yes, I attended, I've never been to an HOA meeting, so I attended one the other day, and it was pretty enlightening. I enjoyed it, though, because I don't live in an HOA.
You can move. You'd like to move.
I attended the CHS Hall of Fame, and congratulations to everyone, and Mickey was one of the lucky winners there. I also, again, we found out through that night that Senator McCain was going to be at the honor wall, so I attended that, and then some people went to tags afterwards, as he did, and it was really neat because after he finished eating and everything, he got up and he was taking pictures with people, and he went behind the counter with the girls that worked there and took his picture with them, and then took it with the kitchen staff. You know, I just thought that was pretty cool, and they did too. I attended the chamber luncheon, the chamber luau, and I too attended the benefit for Gabby Laura, which is Sue Mayberry's granddaughter, and I have to say I agree with everything that Steve said. I was amazed. In 1981, I put on a benefit for Sue's daughter who had cancer, and I thought it was pretty awesome, but let me tell you, this benefit was it was just wonderful to see everybody get together. And that's it.
Gary?
Well, I didn't go see Senator McCain. I found out when Gilbert posted a pretty picture on Facebook. Probably because I wasn't at the football game. My wife had surgery, so I didn't get to go. So I do want to say a few things. Again, for personal reasons, I wasn't able to attend the fundraiser for Miss Laura, but wish I could have. I know, I was behind putting a fundraiser on for when Tammy Mundell passed away, the ambulance EMT, I don't know why I called driver, years ago. So I know the work that goes behind it. So they just did a phenomenal job, and I spoke to someone today that said, yes, what Steve said, they did raise a very large amount of money. And I've seen a lot of pictures, and it wasn't just Florence folks. There's a lot of Coolidge folks there, so it was great to see. I want to say this Thursday, I could be wrong on the date, we have Coolidge Gain. Is it Thursday?
Gain, oh yeah.
Gain night's coming up. So if you have time, come out to there. Halloween's on Monday, so I believe our parks are going to do stuff Monday night, or is it all weekend?
Monday night.
It's
weekend.
so there's events all weekend for Halloween?
The haunted house.
Haunted house, haunted gym.
Haunted house at the gym, yeah, okay. we have that going on. And then, like I said, Friday in Florence is the annual Coolidge versus Florence thing. And by graduation, I am a Gopher, but by residence, I'm a Coolidge Bear. And the Bear season hasn't been great. But when Florence put out their schedule and it said Florence versus them, I was like, well, I hope they kick their butt, being them, the Coolidge guys. So maybe Coolidge could pull one off and have a miracle Friday night. Florence is 8-1. They have a great season. They're playoff bound, but they've also beaten a lot of teams that everybody else beat too. So I hope they have a good turnout. Be respectful. We don't want any problems with the whole Coolidge Florence thing. They're going to probably have 1 million cops there, so we don't want to cause any problems. What else was I going to say? Do you have any other events coming up that I missed?
Garden Fest at the Artisan
Garden
Village
Fest is coming up
this Saturday.
And then November 12th, we do have our Veterans Day Parade. I know we'll have another meeting before that. And then I attended in Phoenix, downtown Phoenix, last weekend, 2 weekends ago. There's a huge, at the convention center, there's a huge sports expo that do with different types of sports, and they have the supplement providers and stuff. Well, my son competed in the USPA national powerlifting competition and won gold again. And he lifted heavier in all his lifts than he had been. So representing Coolidge for that, did a good job. There's 3 gold medals now sitting in the city of Coolidge. I'll say, yeah, that's it. Hope to see everybody at all the events coming up in the next few days.
Thank you. Great.
Mr. Mayor, I'll try to be brief. I've got a few pretty important announcements this evening, though, I would like to kind of share with the mayor and council. And I know you get the weekly memos, so please keep, look at those, put those events. There are occasionally we'll get something that comes up last minute, like the McCain event. Those don't get on here. We try our best. We had a retirement. Palacios retired the other day. I'd like to try to have a little more. I think some of that information did get out, but when it does come, try to put that in your day planners. Appreciate everyone attending those as much as possible. The items I'd like to bring up tonight, I would like to provide some excellent news this evening. We did conduct Development Services Director interviews last week. I'd like to thank Steve Hudson for sitting in on the interview panel, as well as James Henderson and myself. We had some excellent candidates. Very pleased this evening to announce that the decision has been to hire Gilbert Lopez as the next Community Development Services Director. Gilbert will be a phenomenal addition to the city staff, and look forward to working with Gilbert. He's got a lot of good ideas and some great contacts, and it'll be a great opportunity to work with Gilbert. On a sad note, we did receive a resignation from Susanna Struble. This is going to be her last city council meeting with us. She will, fortunately for Susanna, she's got a great opportunity to work a little closer to home for the town of Gilbert, and we wish her well in her endeavors there. You can't really look around this town very far without noticing the impact that she has had on receiving monies and making tremendous strides and improvements in this community. And these shoes are going to be difficult to fill. Not sure what we're going to do at this point. Going to do a little thinking about that for a period of time, but we wish her well in her future endeavors, and we'll be calling upon her. Hopefully I think she says she's off on Friday, so you better keep your phone off on Friday, Susanna. But I'd like to thank you very much.
Thank you, Susanna.
Yes.
And we'll try to, between these are short notices, we have a lot going on, so we'll try to make sure we do an appropriate send-off for Susanna before she does leave. And the other piece of sad news, although she's not completely leaving us, but Lisa Piniella. Yeah, she's going to kind of go out a little slower, but Lisa Piniella, she's contemplated retirement for quite some time, and she submitted a retirement resignation notice to me the other day. She'll be working with us through the Smart Works program for a period of time as we transition. In our recruitment effort, we'll be advertising for her position on Wednesday. It'll be a short turnaround to fill that position. But she'll work with Smart Works kind of on an hourly basis between now and the end of the year, probably limited. But then after the end of the year, working with her through June to kind of help us through the budget process and a few other areas that we'll probably have her working in to help the city as it transitions from her very capable hands and making sure that the city, I know there's a lot of people that have expressed the desire and need to be fiscally responsible. There isn't a person that I've worked with quite like Lisa, who is fiscally responsible as she is. I think the other department directors would attest to the fact that she's very, very cautious about how every nickel is spent. But I have really enjoyed working with Lisa, and it's really been an eye-opener for me as I work with her and appreciate her service to the community as well. Pony Express coming here Saturday, November the 5th in front of City Hall. If someone wishes to come and write a letter to a loved one, they can post stamp it with the kind of a collector's postage stamp from the Pony Express, which is kind of neat. It happens every year through the town of Gilbert, so you might see this little Gilbert Days Pony Express flyer going around. So if you'd like to do that.
Not on any light poles, right?
Not on light poles. We don't put these on light poles. Yeah. The other thing I've done, just briefly, and I'll be done here, is that I did meet a gentleman at the League of Cities and Towns conference. He's with Climatech, and I've asked him to do a little feasibility plan on how we might save energy costs, throughout the city, in our lights, our street lights, and in our facilities. And so he's doing a no-cost energy audit, looking at all of our bills and our buildings and the square footage, and I'm kind of anxiously awaiting his report that we'd like to bring back to council so he can share with you what we might do to save energy and improve some of our fixtures that might be outdated at no additional cost than what we are paying currently in our energy bills. So you get new fixtures, no additional cost guaranteed, and paying for those new fixtures through the savings that he will guarantee or show us in his energy audit. So something that's really interesting. I'd like to bring that back for council's consideration probably in November. But that's really all I have, Mayor, this time. Thank you.
Are you sure?
I think so. That was long, but I needed the time tonight.
Not 10 yet.
I know.
Gary, though.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were going to announce the retirements tonight, so I didn't want to say anything. So I didn't say anything, but it comes to Lisa. I've known Lisa for many years. She's known my wife's family a lot longer than I have, and I've known her husband, Frank, who insists on giving me a hug every time I see him. I am glad you're finally able to go where you want to go, and I've talked about it for years. And even though I was against the smart work system, I think how you're using it is how it should be used. So I think that's awesome. It's great you're going to be here to help replace or help teach the replacement. And I don't see it as a replacement because, like Rick said, when it comes to being fiscally conservative, Lisa's the best. I mean, we're going to have big shoes to fill when it comes to the finance department. You do way more than you ever needed to do. And I don't think very many people recognize that you spend more than 40 hours a week at work. So your retirement is long overdue and long needed. So yeah, just for me and my family, we appreciate everything you've done for the city. I'm sure everybody else here feels the same. I know you're not gone yet. We're going to miss you. But enjoy the retirement and the grandkids. That's all.
All right. It's been said many times. I'm not going to say everything that I could say about both Lisa and Susanna. They've led this council for the last 2 years, and then many councils before through some pretty difficult times. It wasn't always pleasant, but the work got done, and Coolidge is a better place for your service, and I personally thank you for everything you guys have done. I would like to say that I'll try to keep it short because we have another meeting after this. But since our last council meeting, or the regular one, I attended the NAACP meeting here in this room. I had had the pleasure of attending the Heartland Ranch HOA meeting in this room. And no matter how bad our meetings get, their HOA meetings are more exciting. The Sun Quarter MPO retreat, the mayor's meeting, the New Destiny celebration, the chamber luncheon, Mario Palacios going away retirement party, which, Chief, one of your officers told me about when I ran into him in Florence that morning. So I'm just saying, I don't know how it was set up or whatever, but to Councilman Lewis's point, probably a half of the things that I went to, they weren't, necessarily city events, and they weren't necessarily posted for us anyway. I mean, we just found out about them, and we showed up like a bad relative, I guess. Chamber awards ceremony, and I ended up at John McCain's at the honor wall, and that was basically for. He contacted his staff contacted Oscar Rodriguez and asked to come down and meet with him and tour the wall. So it wasn't a city function. It was actually one veteran to another, and they came down and met, and they had a nice little discussion. So. But I had the honor and privilege of being one of the people that happened to be there. But I wouldn't have been if I would have went to the Hall of Fame dinner. So there you go. Anyway, that's all I got. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank the council for working through some difficult issues and getting some items done that hopefully we won't have to deal with again, and we can move forward. So thank you, everybody. And now I'm going to, I need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned to this.